Good morning. Good morning, guys. I'll wait for a few. I'm excited about today's show, today's TC Talks episode. If you are a new or aspiring author, this is the perfect episode for you guys to join in. We are waiting. It is 9 o'clock, and I am going to go ahead and get started. All right. So, good morning. Good morning. I am Trina Ferguson of Trina Cares LLC, where living, learning, and loving come together to help you on your educational needs. Today, guys, we are talking to a dynamic duo. These two women are just they are here to help. If you are a new or aspiring author, they are the perfect duo for you guys to tap into, to learn from. They have a special event coming up. I'm going to introduce them to you in just a few. I just wanted to say that this month, happy Mother's Day to all my moms who listen. And I also wanted to tell you that this month we are talking to moms who are in business. So both of these wonderful women are in business, and they have joined forces together to present such a wonderful webinar that is coming your way pretty soon. And I just wanted to go ahead and introduce the dynamic duo of Christine Johnson and Donna Knutson. Let me see. Let me see. All right. Good morning. Good morning, guys. Uh-oh. So I need to go ahead and unmute
There
you.
we go. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you ladies doing?
Really well. It's early for me on a Saturday, but
Oh,
I'm doing
well,
well.
I completely understand. I'm not an early morning person, but I wanted to make sure that before moms and dads got ahead, started their day, that they got a chance to really listen to the wisdom that you guys have about, new and aspiring authors, and just the process that it takes to go from a thought to a published piece. So I want you guys to just give a brief introduction of who you are and what you do.
Christine,
Let me
Christine,
go
you want to
first.
go first?
I'll go first this time.
All right.
Okay, again, good morning, everyone. Like she mentioned, my name is Christine Johnson. I am a wife of 19 years. I got to get used to saying that. That's kind of funny to me. Mother of two teenagers. I just love to learn, collaborate and meet new people. I love to provide resources and help out in my community. And why I'm here today, I'm the co-owner of JayMedia Group and head of the publishing division. And like she mentioned, we'll share some great information about the upcoming webinar that we're going to share with you.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us again.
Of course.
Miss Donna.
I'm Donna Knutson, and I had a long career in television news. And then I started teaching English at community college, and I was basically teaching people how to write. I used to have a show that I would help teens put on that ran on Channel 2, was their own newscast. So I love working with people to help them write. And when I ran into Christine, I knew that she's just a vivacious person, and that we could work together to help people get their stories published, because people have stories to tell. And
Yeah.
this way we can, people come up to you all the time and they're like, oh my gosh, you have this great story. You should tell this story. And this way, I don't publish, but Christine can help with that part. But I can help people figure out how to get that word on the page, how to get started, how to get that story together, and how to make it ready for a publisher.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Good morning, Lawrence. Good morning, Miss Latoya. So, you guys, my audience, as always, if you have any questions for our guests, just make sure you put them in the chat for me, and I'll make sure that I ask our guest, our special guest, those questions. So, I love the fact that both of you just want to, like, you guys really, it just seems like you really want to help, and I love that about the two of you. So, it's nice that when you work with somebody that you guys both have, like, very similar. Desires, very similar goals. So, walk us through the process of going from a thought to the publishing side?
Well, that just
It
starts on
starts
my
with you.
side for sure, because Christine would like you to have that document ready to rock.
Already.
But I mean, I worked teaching people writing for a while at a community college, and then I've worked all my life either writing or helping people getting things written, and a lot of it is just figuring out where you're most comfortable, getting you on a schedule, and as I tell my daughter all the time, everything is practice. Everything is practice.
Love it.
So if you can get yourself in a practice, journaling is great for this. To every day just be writing down some thoughts. I had a cousin who's like, I don't want to write all my stuff down and everything, and I said, well, then just write a gratitude journal. You
Yeah.
know, if you have a devotional, you could do that.
Yeah.
Just something that you're practicing getting your thoughts down on paper.
Okay.
If you are someone who writes all the time and you have, all this paper everywhere and you're not really sure where to start, I do a guided writing piece with people to help them figure out what frame to put their story on. And once you know what the frame is, you know what order you're going to go in. We write a really detailed blueprint so that you're not ever lost when you start writing and where to go. And that's how I kind of help people get started with that.
Okay. All right, Chrissy. So once Christine, once it goes from once it goes from working with Donna and now they're ready to are they ready at that moment to get published? So what like going from Donna to you, what is that process?
So most of the time, like she said, I think that's the biggest part. Getting your thoughts on paper, getting them written, and getting them organized in a way that makes sense when you bring it to the publisher. So that's the huge, huge chunk. So once you take write and edit it with Donna, then you bring it to me, and there's a publishing process. So my part, is pretty not easy, but there's a step-by-step process more so than with writing. That's more subjective.
Yes.
But we do offer, additional editing because we want to look at it, make sure everything is right. Like Donna says, she fixes the dents and all that stuff. We do the paint, make sure everything is pretty.
I like
Help you
that.
with
Yeah.
cover design, making sure you have the right files, the right formatting. We do more of the technical stuff to get you published. ISBN, getting registered with different libraries and registries and things like that. So that's what we do.
Okay. All right. Nice. So before we go and talk about the event that's coming up, I wanted to ask you. So one of our guests wanted to know, do you edit? And Christine, you did say that you also edit. Now, I had recently spoken to someone who was ready to publish, but they were nervous about their voice not being heard once they went through the editing process. How do you guys keep the author's voice while you're still editing? Because I know growing
That's a
up,
good question.
I would give my mom my papers, and by the end of that paper, I'm like, was that even my paper? Like, so how does an author not lose their voice when they're going through the editing process?
Well, I always explain the job of an editor. It's like a dating relationship, and I'm not saying that you're dating your author, but um, they're great people who you are not meant to be with.
Yeah,
So you want to make sure that the person you're working with understands your work and what you want to get across.
I love that.
So if I always try and work with people who, once you get that original edit back, you should say, "Oh my gosh, this is helping me. This is what I want to say." There are a list of suggestions for what the editor feels will make your paper more clear. This is not, so a lot of people confuse editing with copy editing. So
Yeah.
there's book editing. Book editing is it clear? Does it flow? Did you leave a character out that you introduced in chapters 1 and 2 and then they went away? Did you start in one year, and you went out of order? Because when you're writing, sometimes things get jumbled. If it's a business book, the same thing. You know what your process is. So you may think it's very clear, but is it clear to someone who's never seen that process before? So book editing is really like an engineer. You're getting that wider view of how is this going to resonate to people who haven't seen it, don't understand it? How do we get it clear? What things do you need in there?
Okay.
Copy editing, that's what you I think think about more with your school paper.
Hmm.
That's the very last process, right?
Okay.
Because the bigger process of editing is to make sure that your story resonates and makes sense and is clear and
Yeah.
consistent. Once that's done, the copy editing, that part is very, it's just grammar and spelling
Yeah.
and punctuation.
Okay.
So if you get notes back from your book editor and you're like, that person has no idea what I'm talking about, I
Mm.
was talking about this, that's not the right relationship.
Okay.
And if you get the note back and you say, oh my gosh, that is exactly what I wanted to do, let me get in there, and your editor is not going to fix it for you. Your editor is going to help
Yes.
guide you in the direction where you can write and fix it.
I love that. I love it. I love the fact that you're off it feels like as a writer, you do have that power to say, okay, this is not a relationship that's working for me. And so I need to find another editor that can understand my language. So I love that. I never really thought about that. That's perfect. Christine, did
And
you
I
have
just
anything?
want to, yeah, I did. So that's why I wanted to jump in. That's why I wanted to work with Donna, because as a publisher, like she said, they'll give me something, and I'm looking at it like, this may need a little more than what I can offer. Like I said, copy editing, I'm with you. I can your words, they're misspelled. I'm writing your paper,
Yeah.
red marks, punctuation. I'm checking all of that. But developmental is a whole nother process, and it takes more
Okay.
time. And that's why I wanted to have someone to work with to be able to dig a little deeper with the authors, because it
That's
is what they need.
I love that. Good morning, guys
Hmm.
who have just joined on. We are talking with Christine Johnson of JayMedia Publishing and Donna Knutson of Right Journeys LLC. So I definitely wanted to bring you guys to today to talk about your webinar. So before we get to the webinar, I do have one question. You both have such a great wealth of knowledge. How did y'all meet and start working together? Because there I hear I personally do not believe this, but I've heard over the course of my entire life, oh, women can't work together, women, they're
Hmm.
always competing with each other. And I have found a wonderful group of women business owners, who are like, we celebrate each other, we work together. So I want you to debunk this myth that we can't work together. So how did you guys meet?
You want to go? I would defer to Donna.
There's a gentleman that he's a small business owner, and he does a lot of work with other small business owners.
Okay.
He's just one of those people who listens and keeps an ear out for relationships and what people do.
Hmm.
And he enjoys connecting people. So he told me that when he learned I like to work with publishers, he said, I met this lady. We had one meeting. Really, we must have talked for about an hour. And I knew just from, when people are sincere,
Yes.
and
Yes.
they come to you from the heart. She
Yeah.
was grounded, um, and so I knew that she was someone who I wanted to work with.
Yeah.
And when we worked our way through our very first webinar that we did, it just became clear. We just are both really focused on helping our clients.
Okay.
The interpersonal piece, I think people don't work together well when they are not sure of themselves, right?
Mhm.
They're afraid of being shown up by other people, or they're afraid of not, like, they have to know everything.
Yeah.
Since I will never know everything ever. Um, and I was raised to always be learning, always be reading, always be listening for wisdom.
Yeah.
I just love meeting people and learning from them. And it doesn't make me feel less than I don't know, I'm a people person, so I want to learn from everybody. There's always knowledge people have, no matter how
Yeah.
young they are.
Yeah.
They have this amazing wealth of knowledge that I don't have because they've had other experiences.
Yeah.
So I just think it's really kind of opening yourself up to people to learn from them. Uh,
Yeah.
they if someone When we started talking publishing, and Christine had just like all this knowledge about all these things in the
Yeah.
publishing industry. It was amazing. She could do like an hour webinar all by herself just
Yeah.
on publishing.
I
There's
agree.
so much that she knows. And that is not intimidating to me.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I hear that, but I've not had that experience. I
Yeah.
find people to be really open and wonderful, but I think it's that insecurity that
Yeah,
Hmm.
that makes sense. That makes
That's a good
sense.
one.
Yeah. I loved listening to you because just I literally just saw a puzzle like just kind of coming together. You have different pieces and in order to complete the puzzle, you need different pieces. The
Right.
same piece is not going like if if you're just always working with the same person yourself, it's not going to always work out. But when you have those different pieces, you just really come together to make such a beautiful picture. And I love the fact that you guys are here today to tell us about your upcoming event. Please share.
Guess it's my turn now. See, I was going to let Donna talk about the webinar. I see how you did that. I like that. I like that. So, well, first, I wanted again to talk about us meeting because it was very interesting. We're
Okay.
trying to work on, networking and meeting
Yeah,
people. So, like she mentioned, we met another small business owner, and when I spoke to him about the publishing, he went, "I know an editor." And
that's
so I'm
awesome.
learning to, follow through. It's like somebody
Yeah,
can tell you that, give you the information, and it kind of sits there.
yeah,
So I reached out to Donna, and like she said, when we first met, it was just like cohesion. We were thinking about the same things. We wanted to get the same things done,
yeah,
and like she had all this information. Like I said, I can show you where your period needs to go. I can make sure your words are spelled right, but she's walking you through that whole thing, like
yeah,
making sure you're saying what needs to be said. Like she said, making sure nothing's missing, you're not missing any characters, or changing your hair color in the middle of the story. So she's making all that work, which I want to, and sometimes I just don't have the time. And then
yeah.
she has the expertise, so you got to use your resources. So,
Right.
like she said, when we met, it was just gelling. We met and wanted the same thing. So it's been great to work on that. So one of the things that we wanted to do was a webinar to
Okay.
share information again for new and aspiring authors for editing and for publishing to take you through the entire process. So
Okay.
we work together. Like she said, we do a Zoom. We're going to do it quarterly. So we have done one already that's been
Okay.
recorded. But the thing I like about it is that it's very interactive.
Okay.
And so, like I said, you can see it later. But when you join live, you're allowed to ask those questions like we're able to do this morning. If
Mhm.
someone has a specific question that they have about editing, about publishing, they can reach us directly and we're there to answer your questions. And
Okay.
then we also both provide consultation services in case you want to get a little more in depth about the different thing that you need specifically. But we're just trying to share information for new and aspiring authors, but anybody that wants to write. The
Okay.
level of writing varies. You can be not having published anything at all, or you can be have published a little bit. Like any level that you are in your writing process, we should be able to help you.
So as far as ages, is there a specific age for the webinar?
Nope.
no, not at all.
Oh
Um,
wow. Okay.
you know, I mean, I've worked with a couple. One young lady that I worked with, she was writing a fantasy novel.
Okay. Yeah.
Just incredibly talented. You know, you could be writing at all different ages. And it doesn't really have an end to it. There are people really who say, I wish, Uncle Joe would write down all those stories he tells us all the time about our families.
Mhm.
Well, Uncle Joe might just need a little help to get
Okay.
that done,
Okay.
and then you have that family story written down forever.
Yeah.
And Christine can put it into a format where everyone in your family can have a written copy of what
Okay.
those stories are.
Okay.
So, people sometimes they just need a hand to do it. But,
Yeah.
I'd say, 9 to 90, right? It
9 to
doesn't really
90.
matter.
Very nice. Very so moms and dads who are out there listening, if you have children who have a wild imagination like my two girls do, actually my oldest has the same imagination, get them writing, guys. And, here we will make sure that you have the information to get in contact with the dynamic duo of, I'm going to go ahead and name y'all, of Right Direction. Uh, but yes, make sure that you are reaching out. We will make sure that we provide that information for you, so that whether it's you or your Uncle Joe or your daughter, your son, get them writing, guys. Like everybody, I truly believe that everybody has a story to tell. What is the youngest the youngest client that you've had?
My youngest client was just getting ready to finish her first year of high school. So
Okay.
she was a 14, 15-year-old.
Okay.
Her parents had planned all these camps for her, but then we had COVID. So she was going to go to a writing camp.
Oh, okay.
Um, but she spent the summer with me, and we went through her novel that she had written to get it ready. And she's won a couple of awards and contests with her writing.
Okay. And Christine, the youngest that you've worked with.
So my youngest has been a middle school. We actually just published a collaboration. So
Okay.
I work with a teacher who does writing seminars and works with like libraries to help students with writing. And they
Hmm.
recently published a children's book about planets and outer space.
That's awesome.
And then, like I was going to mention too about the webinar, we talk about all different genres too. We
Okay.
thought about breaking it up, but we're finding that general information. So we're providing information about all type of genres. So if you're interested in writing young adult, children's books, devotionals, and I've had experience publishing all types of books. So
Okay.
definitely any type of genre you're interested in writing, reach out and check us out.
Okay. All right. So, can you give us the date, the time, how to get in touch with you guys, how to register, all of that good information?
So I
It's your
did
turn,
put
Donna. There we
in
go.
your on your Facebook page. I put a link to how you can get to the Right Direction webinar,
Oh,
but
perfect.
it's on May 20th. It's a Zoom webinar, so it goes from 12 to 1:30,
Okay.
and most of that last period is all Q&A. But the entire time that we go through, we're working with people to answer their questions.
Okay.
And if you sign up for the webinar, we can get you in the loop where you can, kind of start to talk to us a little bit about what your questions are that you want to get answered, so we can be sure to make sure that we have that information for you.
And
Perfect.
let's
Thank
not forget, it's free. Like there's no charge. We're just
Yes.
providing you this information.
Yes, I
We
forgot
just want
about
to
that.
share,
That is
share,
very
share.
important. So,
Hmm.
yes, it is free, guys. It is free. It's an hour and a half of wonderful information that can help you take what you've probably been sitting on for years to just a whole nother level, and probably a place that you never even thought that you could actually get to. So do you guys have any any final words, any encouragement that you wanted to leave our audience today?
Donna.
Oh my gosh! Oh,
I was about to say, no
absolutely.
pressure.
No, I I mean, I can see a few of the little chats over there, so I hope that some of you do some writing. But that's what I would encourage. I'm a dollar store fan. Hit the dollar store. They have these little notebooks. I'm sure I have one around here somewhere. Um, but they have these little notebooks. Yep, here's one. Kind of look like this,
Uh-huh.
right? And
Hmm.
I think I have one in my purse and I have one in my car. I take one into church with me, um, and just writing can help you really work through problems, understand yourself better. When you are practicing using words, you end up communicating better with other people. It's just a way to, reach your friends and family. If you're a business owner, it's a great way to reach your clients. Nothing works better in like a speaking engagement if you have a book to hand out that backs up whatever it is you're speaking about. So it touches on all phases of your life to be able to communicate well, and to get your thoughts out, to get your feelings out, and to work. If you like math, like writing it down and working through the problem, writing does that for you emotionally. Writing it down, and you can work through problem.
Very nice. So right, right, right,
Right,
right.
that's it.
Yes, right.
And it's funny. I know we like games. We should have played a game and make them win prizes. But if they ask any questions, I do have my little notebooks that I am willing to share. So we
Okay.
are again still open to questions. I have some incentives for you all to ask more questions. But again, like Donna mentioned, just write. Don't get stuck in your head, caught up in the semantics of it, the tough part of it, like, will someone like it? What am I going to say? Is this like, just get it out, because then you can fix if you already have something down. Like, if you
Yeah,
don't have it down, there's nothing to work with, but at
that's
least
true.
get something down. I guess that's what I'm learning too.
That's
And
Yes,
true.
then we'll help
and
you with
don't
the
worry
process.
about the spelling and the grammar and
Right,
Yeah.
everything.
right.
That is not important. It's to get your ideas out. You have a question, a statement from
Yes.
Chartice.
Yeah, so Chartice Richardson said that she's going to have to share this with her son Dorian. He has been writing and creating stories since he was really little. I can vouch for this. Dorian is actually in my creative writing class.
Okay.
He's a middle schooler, and when I read his stories, you know, how sometimes when you're reading, well, for me, when I'm reading something that's just so interesting, I find myself in that story. Well, there are times that I literally jump when I'm reading his stories. I'm like, oh my. So, what would your advice be to Dorian when he watches this?
So again, I mean, when you have someone who's been writing all their life, you just have a writer. I'm just saying that you do. I tell everybody I wrote a play when I was in first grade, and we got to put it on. It was about picking up trash, but and being good to the environment. And there were little kindergartners and first graders in tree hats, but and I've also run into people who are a little negative about it, right? I once had an experience where a young gentleman said to me, Willard said this to me, he said, what are you going to be? And I said, oh, I'm an English major, you know, I'm going to write. And he's like, oh, well, you can get married, right? You're a woman, you can get married. And I
Wow.
was just
Oh,
really,
wow.
I know, oh, wow, right? um, but as it turns out, I've written for money my entire life. And so it can be a very lucrative career. But if it's your passion, what I would say to Dorian is, you know, the thing that people cannot always do is communicate.
Yeah,
So,
Yep.
medical school, doctors, they need people who can communicate.
yeah,
And lawyers, you know, the lawyers speak that none of us can read because we didn't go to law school. That doesn't get a client in the door. What gets a client in the door is language that people can understand and relate to.
yeah,
Well, you can understand and relate to people. So what they're finding a lot of times is that gets you ahead of the pack in whatever your career is, because they want the person out there who can communicate with you. It's just going to help you in whatever you do. And
yeah,
if he's creative and he's a creative person, you won't be able to stop him. He'll be, that
Right.
creativity will pour out of him in whatever he does. And you're doing a great job to encourage him. You know, have a notebook somewhere, save all his stories, because he's going to think that some of them aren't good anymore. So make sure you get
yeah.
your hands on him before he says, oh, that thing I wrote when I was in third grade is bad. Mom, get that,
Yeah.
hide that. Um, but it sounds like you have a writer.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
there are writing camps for kids. If you're in Maryland, Goucher has a writing program in the summer. Towson, I think, also has a writing program in the summer for kids. Um, and there are just lots of different places that they can go and then be with people who are creative like them. And then that helps you, you know,
Right.
strengthen you because you have all your peers around you who are going for the same thing.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Christine, did you have anything to add to that
Of
to,
course
for
I
Dorian?
do. So I was just going to say, as a publisher, my end goal would be to get you a published book, but that doesn't have to be, the end goal. There are different blogs, different things ways that you can post your work. Like we have a JayMedia Arts community where you can post anything that you're writing. You can make a magazine. Like there's so many ways that you can showcase your talents.
Yeah.
So just find those different avenues and ways to get your writing out there.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for that advice. I'm sure he will definitely appreciate it, especially if you say his name.
Hey, Dorian.
So, Dorian, this one is for you. So, thank you. I just want to thank you guys so much. How can our audience reach you?
So I don't know if they can. I see. I did kind of put in the host chat a link, and I
Okay.
did put on your host page the link
Okay.
to our webinar.
Okay.
Um, and I'm on LinkedIn, so the
Okay.
easiest way to find me is to go to LinkedIn and type in my name,
Okay.
Donna Knutson.
Okay.
There's not a whole bunch of them. I'll come up. And that has all my information, email, phone number, and we can get you connected into whatever it is you need through that.
Wonderful. And Christine, how can our audience reach you?
Sure. We have a Facebook page. So our parent company, JayMedia Group, has a Facebook page where we share all our media information. And then you can send, and we are Instagram also. JayMedia underscore publishing has an Instagram page specifically for our authors and our books. And then our website is www.jaymediagroup.net. So all our information about our books, company, and everything is on our website.
All right, and I'll make sure that I put that in our chat at the end of the show. I want to thank you guys once again for joining me on this early Saturday morning. And I also want to thank you guys, my audience, for joining us on this wonderful, beautiful outside Saturday morning. So, yes, please make sure that you reach out to both Christine Johnson as well as Donna Knutson and their webinar, Right Direction Writing and Publishing Webinar, which will be held on May 20th. It is a Zoom, but you do need to register, and
Right.
it is free. It is free, but you do need to register from 12 o'clock p.m. to 1:30 p.m. And again, I want to thank you guys for joining me today, and thank you, audience. I'll see you guys next time.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Trina.